with Kelly and Barbara.
Step right up, draw the next card. You're one of the brighter animals, so get along with everybody else. Is the ship sinking? I've been thinking. Are we sinking? I've been thinking. Been a little time to get along. A wake-up call, throw the next up. Be one of a kind, original. Don't be another sign of the times. Fight. Wanna know the secret? We get on. Wanna know the secret? We get on. Try to find the feeling we belong. It's all for one and all for fun.
Good morning. You're still watching The Morning Show with Kelly and Barbara. Barbara has, however, popped out for a coffee because the method is not working this morning. So I'm here with Wany Misban, who's going to be talking us through how we can warm up the hips. So maybe we should actually do vocal warm-ups for Barbara. but with Wany today, we're going to be going through the hips, the ankles, and it's so important because I think we spend so much time sat down. I mean, I for sure definitely need help with my hips. My hip flexors are always tight. If we get down in any form of position, you're going to hear a crack of my hips coming out. If you've given birth, you'll know exactly what I mean. Like all that stuff just makes so much noise. So
I don't have the same experience there, so I'm not sure what you're talking about at this point.
Yeah, you're going to hear it. It's quite audible. Okay, so what are we going to do?
So we're tying up to what we did last week. Last week you actually used a towel. Today I don't have any toys.
Yeah, I know this is the first week
time
that we don't have any props, so this is pretty cool.
Yeah. So last week we actually used the towel to actually work through the ankles, a little bit through basically to release the calf and also the hip flexors.
Yep.
So now we're just using the body and mobilizing through movements basically. Okay. So let's do a test first.
Okay.
How deep is your squat? How deep is your squat?
How deep is my squat? Oh, there we go. There's the hips.
I heard that.
Not bad.
Good.
And
Yeah.
I'm doing this in jeans. Can we I'm doing this in jeans.
Okay, so what happens over here is that we want to make sure that you have that depth of the hips, number one. We also want to make sure that the knees are looking through the same direction as the toes.
Yep.
So sometimes, just sometimes, you're going to stay there, right? Sometimes we're not able to get this deep.
Let me just come this way so that we can sort of get a slightly different angle on this.
So we can't get this deep, and it's not because of the knees. Actually, sometimes it's mainly because of the ankles. So the ankles don't actually get that mobility. So we've mentioned before, ankles, the hips are the ones, the joints that through the legs that actually have a lot more movement.
Yep.
So we want to get back that movement again.
Yep.
So if we are working throughout to get to this deep squat, basically, what we want to do is to get through this few exercises.
Okay.
Shall we have one leg out towards the front?
All right.
So it's going to be a lunge. Yeah. Okay, so you got the other leg, you're on your knee.
Yep,
okay, so the first thing you want to do, you just actually can mobilize through your, the leg moves, just move it forward and back My words are also all over the place apparently today. Got it from Barbara.
Nobody's doing well this morning.
So it's actually so getting through movement through your ankles. So you're gonna push it as much as you can. We will actually get through a lot more mobility on the outside later on.
And just to check, how safe is this? Because you know how whenever you drop down into a lunge or a squat, everyone's like, "Oh, don't send the knee over the toes." Like,
no, it's actually okay.
it's okay. So as long as we're staying safe in this
Yeah,
position.
I mean, number one, we're not actually going upwards.
Why?
Yeah,
Jeez,
this is
she's
fine.
so low. I'm gonna blame it on the fact that I'm wearing jeans.
It's not her mobility.
Yeah,
totally.
nothing to do with my movement.
Yes. So from here,
Yep.
then we can actually work through the inner thighs.
Okay.
And also through the ankle once more.
Okay.
So just leaning forward as much as you can. You can have the other hand supporting you.
Okay.
Right. First thing you want to do, you want to actually get a little bit further away from your thigh.
Oh,
Yeah, but your foot stays flat.
I'm like in your shot. There we go. Let's see if I can just move this way a little bit. There we go. There we go.
I'm sure you get
So push.
You get a push, and then you can pull it in.
That's actually a nice stretch up the back as well. I think it's like your QL just comes
Yeah,
up
through the
spine, right?
side, and also can you feel the inner thighs? Your
Yeah.
adductors. Yeah. So without you knowing, you're not just stretching through the basically the inner thighs and the quads
Yeah.
and the hip flexors behind you.
Yeah.
You get movement through your ankles too.
Well, I think you can definitely see it on my ankles, like
Yeah.
the
feel like my
bending
bum-
down to the side. Like if I turn around this way, then you can kind of see it a little bit better. I think, yeah, that sort of rotation on that ankle.
But this is not the only thing you can allow your body to do.
Yep.
You can drop your foot down to the side, so then you stretch on the outside. Oh, that's nice.
Interesting.
It's
I
always
don't
nice.
think I can go as low as you, but like, I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah. So that's number one.
All right.
Whilst
you talk, I'm going to do the other side because I feel really imbalanced at the moment.
And then from there, yeah, usually so once you do one side, actually you can do both ends, and then
Yep.
we do a test on your deep squat again.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I should do on the other.
Yeah.
You'll notice sometimes that one side is way more mobile than the other.
Yeah, I think that was my other side. Like at this point, like I
Yeah.
feel a little bit tighter going through like that groin area. And this is my problem hip as well. So the importance of maintaining mobile hips.
You want to actually maintaining mobile hips.
It's
It
good.
just hit to me, like maintaining mobile hips.
Yes.
Basically, it affects your movement pattern and also your health of your back sometimes. So notice how much we are spending sitting down
Yeah.
at the moment, actually, or couch surfing. I mean, channel surfing on the couch, basically.
Yep.
So
I was going to say not much couch surfing being done right now. Everyone's just stuck at home.
yeah. So this is so nice. So even though I talk about more so the front leg, the hip flexors actually get the stretch, and we get to notice that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
should we try it again in the squat?
Yes. Shall we?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So the malasana.
Oh, did you hear that? Yeah,
It's all you, Kelly.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the hips going.
How do you feel?
So it actually feels a lot more comfortable in this position. Like I feel like I can get my arms between a little bit more. There's a little bit more rotation in my hip socket, which is nice.
Yes.
And I feel a little bit more comfortable. Like I feel like I could sit in this position. I mean, I see my daughter sitting in this position all the time. Like little kids, right? Like, they're just like playing with their toys like this all the time. And then I think about myself and go, like, I could not spend that same
Amount of time.
duration
Yeah.
in a squat like the way she does. And I think it's,
It's
youth.
just-
I will put it down to youth.
I think it's just practice too.
Yes, that's true. Now, how important is it to make sure that your spine is kept straight in this position?
The ideal position is that you keep your back as straight as possible.
Can we get you just to rotate to, a little bit more? Yeah, just so that we can see.
Yeah.
See, like that is how straight your spine is. I don't think my spine is that straight at all. But yeah, that's an important thing to do.
Yeah. So what you want to do here, you can actually use your arms to help you push out, so you get a much bigger stretch through your inner thighs.
Yep.
So even if your knees actually go slightly past your toes, that's okay.
Okay.
Then you want to keep your chest as straight as possible rather than rounding. So this is not a good squat,
Okay.
basically. Yeah.
So you want to be up and maintain that
Yeah.
sort of position. Okay. Fun fact, if you are pregnant and trying to induce labor, this is also a great position to be in.
Because Kelly was there.
This was exactly how I went into labor. So yeah, on that note, Wany, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to stay here. And yet again, I end up throwing to a break in a really weird position on the show. It seems to be a trend. You're watching The Morning Show with Kelly and Barbara. We're going to come right back. It's Daddy Latimer, Tony Latimer, MCC, one of the first master coaches in Singapore. I'm so proud. He's joining us on the show to chat about parents as the first coach and how you can plan to go back to work. Don't go anywhere. This is The Morning Show.
Step right up, draw the next card. You one of the pack, animals, so get along with everybody else. Is the ship sinking? I've been thinking. Are we sinking? I've been thinking. Been a little time to get along. Wake up call, throw the next up. Be one of a kind, original. Don't be another sign of the times. Fight. Wanna know the secret? We get on. Wanna know the secret? We get on. Try to find the feeling we belong. It's all for one and all for fun.
Good morning and welcome back to The Morning Show with Kelly and Barbara. And now we brought on another family member. I did some vocal warm-up, so hopefully I won't fluff up as many words for the rest of the show. But it is Tony Latimer, MCC. It is so weird calling him by his first name.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. How do we do this interview? Do we call him Dad?
Dad.
Do we call him Tony?
No, I think we still call him Dad. I think that feels a little bit better.
Okay, but just to clarify, he has a name and it is Tony. And I know for a very long time he was just either Kelly's dad or Barbara's dad. How does that feel?
That hasn't changed.
No, he got a promotion. Now he's Sienna's grandfather.
That's true.
That's true.
That is true. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about coaching and what it is. I mean, Barbara and I have been coached by you unknowingly since we were very, very young. But for people who aren't sure what coaching is, aside from that sporting context, what is it?
Yeah, so the sporting thing is right. That's where it started. If you go back decades, the coach was the expert in the sports and they told people what to do, what to change. Right? Coaching, as we tend to refer to it now, came from when Tim Galway in the 70s, a tennis coach, discovered that if you help people to think, you sort of reach inside and instead of telling them what to do, help them go inside and reflect on what they're doing and find the changes for themselves. And it was more accurate, it was more lasting, it was faster. Because we do if something is my idea, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it works better.
So instead of it being somebody else's idea and from a top down, you should be doing this, it's inception.
Yeah.
Inception. And I know, I mean, what, 20, 30 years ago, especially in Singapore, if you'd have Googled coach, you would have got the timings of the buses going from here to Malaysia.
That's right. Executive
I also want to
coach was
say
a machine that gave you a massage.
30 years ago, you could not Google. Just putting that out.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. But of
Oh,
course,
how young she is.
Yeah.
but of course, it you know, it has evolved. We've got coaches left, right, and centre. But I just want to highlight that you were one of the very first master coaches, not just in Singapore but in Asia. What is a master coach? We've got this title MCC. What does it stand for? How does it come about? And how did you start on coaching?
Yeah, right. We'll go those questions in the order they came, right? So the International Coach Federation, ICF, is the biggest global professional body for coaching. And they set the competencies and do the exams, so independent. So people get accredited at different levels as an associate, a professional, or a master coach, depending on how many wrinkles you've got and how many decades you've been doing it, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. And actually, Kelly, no, you take this one.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Sorry.
What was the second
Words.
question?
so then let's talk about parents and coaching. Like we mentioned earlier, you have been coaching us since we were as young as we can even remember, but we didn't even realize we were being coached. And sort of you can see it there, and we pulled up this very old, like, look at this, it's a physical piece of paper. It's an actual physical newspaper, guys. This is how old it was. It's from the year 2000, and we were featured, well, you were featured as a coach, and we were just a byline in this.
We were this was when we were known as Tony's daughters.
Yeah, like it's so old that it's gone yellow. But it's quite interesting because parenting as a coach, like coaching as a parenting style, was something that you were a big advocate of back then.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting because when we go into organizations and help equip managers and internal coaches with the skills, questions that come up in every workshop is, first of all, they say, can I coach my wife? And the answer is, not if you want to live. Just
So you can do it
work.
to your kids, just not to the
Kids
wife.
is fine, yes. Kids are different because, so coaching is basically the process of making people think.
Yep.
And once you get people thinking, they go down into their subconscious, they lose sight of who's solving the problem. But they're creating new neural pathways in their own brain, which means it's like, this is my idea, I own it. Right? So this is why, rather than telling somebody what to do and how to solve a problem, you make them think so they figure it out for themselves. And parents, particularly the mothers, they kind of instinctively get that. So one of the examples we used to give is, you kids may or may not remember this. When you were very small, we were living in England. Now in England, they actually have this weird policy of actually teaching people to cross roads safely.
Oh.
I know it doesn't play in this part of the world very big, but they did. And it was called the curb drill.
Yep.
So day one, Mummy takes little Johnny by the hand, and when they get to the edge of the road, going to the park, it would say, okay, now, pay attention. And they would teach. You know, stop, look left, look right. What comes next?
Look left again.
There you go.
It worked.
If it's safe, cross. Now, day two, Mummy takes little Johnny to the park. They get to the edge of the road. She doesn't repeat it. She says, now, Johnny, what do we do to cross the road safely? So you're working instinctively on the recall. So you teach once and you coach many. So the most effective use of coaching in a lot of contexts is the implementation of learning. How do we embed it and reinforce it so that it becomes just the way we now operate?
Now, it's quite interesting because in the article you said, and I'll quote from here, besides, parents' presence at home may increase a child's stress levels.
Yeah.
That's true.
And what will the parents do at home? Worry about their jobs not being done at work, sit with the child and pressure him to study. And this was sort of in reference to sort of parents overseeing that learning process. And I think this is very apparent at the moment with home-based learning and things that like parents are worried that because they have to work, they also have to make sure that the home-based learning is being done. But then that might also be hindering the effects of the actual learning process.
Yes, that's the problem. So when that article was done, that was when you guys were just getting used to the Singapore education system, which is a tad different from the way things are back in the UK. And one of the things we realized that we had to take the stress off, not add more stress on. And let's go back an example.
I don't like the way he's pointing at me.
I remember this one, learning Chinese.
Oh gosh.
Yeah? And I remember a little one coming back in tears from sort of like primary 2 because they'd done their first test and she scored 1%.
It was a tough test.
So we had this massive celebration and she was like, why are we celebrating?
Okay, I don't look like that and I don't sound like that either.
Because you got 8%. And she went, oh, I got something right. And we literally just built on that. And it was, what, less than a year before the school was getting her to stand up at assembly and do presentations in Mandarin.
Also terrifying, by the way.
Yeah.
But look at you now, presenting on TV.
In English.
We're still working on the Chinese version of this show. Stay tuned.
But that's what parents do instinctively, is recognize every achievement. The child learns to walk and learns to talk. Hardest things in the world to do. The only way they can do it is by watching and observing and internalizing and thinking. And when the child takes its first step and falls over, the parents don't go, oh, you stupid kid, get up. It's like, look, it's easy, just 1 foot in front of it. Come on. Yeah, they don't do that. They just praise this amazing, you did a step. And the kid goes, wow, that's pretty cool. I'll try 2 tomorrow. And there it goes from there.
So many parents start off doing the right coaching thing and then once they get to 15.
And once you get to school, it all kind of falls apart, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I think that perspective, Rainey, into how you interacted with the kids when they were a lot younger versus
How
as they
you
get
may
older.
be doing it as they get
You
older.
instinctively know how to do this.
We say this, right? And then I'm there trying to teach Sienna how to do things at home. I'm just like, oh,
It's so easy.
Yeah.
But so my question is, again, we see coaches left, right, and centre. What kind of coaches are there? I mean, you are an executive coach. So what do you do going into organisations and?
what are the different types of coaches?
Yeah,
aside
So-
from
I
being-
feel like
there are
there's
lots,
so much
yeah.
going on.
Yeah. So the nice thing is over the last 20 years, the community of trained professional coaches has grown. We have life coaches who can help an individual on different aspects of their work or life in general. We have business coaches who specialize in maybe advising and helping and guiding small business owners. Executive coach, my area is more going in and working with senior management. I help particularly with transitions. So, because whenever anybody gets the next big job, even if it's the CEO, even if you've been a CEO before, the new job, it's bigger, it's more serious. And I know that when we sit down for our first conversation, the big shot, who everybody else in the organization is looking at and going like, wow, they must know what they're doing. They only have one thought in their mind, like, okay, I got it, I better not mess this up. So they need a partner, they need somebody to help them through that transition.
So speaking of that transition, then we're going to talk a little bit after the break about how people can transition back into a normal working life and how that's all going to change very, very soon for all of us. So stick around. We're going to go for a short break. Tony's going to stay. That still sounds weird. Tony's going to stay with us on the morning show with Kelly and Barbara, his 2 daughters, just to talk about how we can help you guys get back to work and stay on track.
And if you have any questions for Tony, do drop us a comment and we'd like to address them as we go on into the next segment as well. We'll be right back.
Step right up, draw the next card. You're one of the black animals, so get along with everybody else. Is this ship sinking? I've been thinking. Are we sinking? I've been thinking.
Hi, I'm Tony Latimer, and this is the Weekend Update. Yesterday afternoon, I was invited to take part in a discussion on Money FM, a local radio station in Singapore. The topic, the questions, revolved around the 2018 Cisco Oxford Economics report and the headline in the media that followed it. Headline said, across Southeast Asia, Singapore is going to have the biggest impact in terms of job displacement due to technology. For anybody who went past the headlines and actually read the report, it then said as many, maybe more jobs are going to be created as jobs are displaced. They'll just be in slightly different areas. The focus of demand on skills for those jobs will be thinking skills, analytical skills, communication skills, the human stuff. I believe, barring physical limitations, you can do anything you want to. You've just got to learn some stuff and practice it. This means that the capability to transfer from current type of work to future type of work is totally possible. But here's the punchline. Government will do things that looks after everybody, the people as a whole. Companies will do things to ensure they get the workforce they need. But only you can take care of you and make sure that you make it through that transition. So, here's your question for this week. What do you need to do to make sure that you will have the skills, the human skills necessary to survive and thrive in the next decade? See you next time.
An interesting thought there, that only we can help ourselves. And I think it definitely has come into play with the whole COVID-19 situation. For those of you who are joining us at the moment, welcome back to The Morning Show with Kelly and Barbara. You just saw Coach in a Car with our dad, Tony Latimer, who's joining us in studio for part 2 of this conversation about how we can learn how to transition back into working life and how we can make sure that we're making progress with our life. And as we saw in the video, an interesting topic about how only we can help ourselves.
True.
So moving forward, especially with us maybe not going back to work in a physical office space, how are we going to help ourselves?
I think there are a few things we need to put in play. Depending on whether you've got young kids or not, working from home might have been fun or might have been a bit more stressful. I think as people look at going back to work, you need to stop and say, so what worked in the circuit breaker period? What didn't? Because there are definitely things that we used to do habitually at work that we don't have to do. On the other hand, I think we have a risk. Some of the big tech companies this week have announced that, yeah, you can work from home for the rest of the year. And maybe we'll keep that going forever. And I think we have a huge risk there as well, because increasingly the work we've been doing with organizations in the last decade has been, as the millennial workforce has grown, is keeping the engagement going. How do we get people engaged with the organization? How do we get them to stay with us for longer? If you now allow them to work from home, you're losing part of that connection. So we know for years people have said that you join the organization, but you leave the relationship with your manager. And that's the bit that's at risk. So I think organizations have to think about how they're going to maintain that connection. I think individuals have to just step up and own it, because it's going to be very easy to become isolated from an organization because of the lack of the human touch. That happens, then it becomes emotionally very easy to say, yeah, I can leave that company and join that company. So it becomes, and that's not always the best thing for yourself. So I think you need to be aware of your future. You need to put yourself at the center of the universe and decide, what do I need to grow and develop in now? Where do I want to go next? And what do I have to put in place as a concrete plan of getting me skilled up to where I want to be?
Now you talk about one of the things that popped out for me during Coach in a Car is when you mentioned, barring physical limitations, you can do anything.
Yes. You just got to learn some stuff and practice it.
And practice it.
Yeah.
And I know growing up, you've talked a lot to us when we faced, troubles, whether it was career or whatever, about self-limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And how we can come across those. But I think going forward, everyone understands, or everyone has heard of a personal development plan. And if you ask me to write up a personal development plan, like, I would have absolutely no idea what it consists of and how to engage in one going forward.
I think just to sort of jump on that, people talk about having a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. And I think that's where we can sort of personal
throws us
development
off.
plan. Yeah, what is it?
So I'm not a big believer in that sort of thing. In the 80s, it was all about, you've got to set your goals. Where are you going to be 10, 15 years from now? Who knows? I mean, even when I started work, within 3 years, I got a job that hadn't existed when I left school. So it wasn't talked about at school. The computers suddenly became a thing. I don't think you can know where you're going to be in 5 years, let alone 10 years. I think the furthest you should look at is, what do I want to do next? So, okay, forgive me. If you've got some big dream and you want to work for that in 10 years from now, fine, go for it. But I think for the majority of us, it's a lot easier to say, 2 things need to go into my personal development. What do I need to get better at now so that achieving the set objectives I've got in my job this year, I can achieve that with greater ease? And then the other side is, what would I like to learn for where I want to go next? And if you've got those 2 things in place, and when you say, I don't know what a plan is, then we're really saying, what do you need to learn? How are you going to learn it? How are you going to practice it? And how are we going to assess the result? Is it working?
So I think it's quite important to note that the government is rolling out a lot of measures. NTUC Learning Hub has got a lot of courses that are available for people to do. Freelancers, they can actually get paid to attend all these training sessions and what have you. But it's some people are going because you get paid to attend, but we shouldn't be wasting the opportunity to learn.
Yes.
And then it comes back to the point that you were saying about how do we make sure that whatever it is that we're spending time learning or upskilling or doing whatever, how do we make sure that we implement
it?
that?
Absolutely. Yes.
So is that something that you see being a problem?
I think it's something that the majority of people don't do enough of. And a lot of people going through those learning environments, working, for example, in the SME sector. Now, multinationals get coaching and use coaches a lot. What I haven't seen a lot of yet is SMEs, which can be quite big in Singapore, up to what, 1 million, several million turnover. Now, what's the SME definition?
Small, medium business enterprise?
No, I mean in terms of size.
Really, you're asking me this kind of question on a Monday morning?
Okay. All right, we'll revert again. So in terms of, they can be big companies, relatively speaking, and with a lot of employees, and yet they tend not to embrace the use of all those coaches who are out there now, who could help them make sure that their people put what they're learning into practice.
Okay, so just quickly, just to wrap up the conversation then, getting access to a coach, I think a lot of SMEs, and because SMEs are struggling at this point in time because of the way the economy is, they think it's a very expensive thing and they don't know how to get access to the tools. Are there tools available, or are there coaches available that aren't going to cost them an arm and a leg?
Yes, there's a good population of coaches out there. There are growing tools and resources. We've been working for 7 or 8 years now on developing digital tools that mean you can equip your staff with the things they need and the guidance to do things differently and implement learning for literally like a few dollars a month.
Oh.
Okay.
Because I was going to say, a lot of, the CEOs and the C-suite level, they pay a lot of money to have that one-on-one help. But, as everyone else working in the company, shouldn't we have access to that same kind of help to grow our careers?
Yes. And one of the difficulties is that we've always historically thought about training and teaching and developing people as sticking them in a classroom for a week and hoping that some of it's relevant. So what you can do with the digital tools available and with the technology we've now got is you can go back to say, right, what is it you need to learn? And just go and learn the bit you need when you need it. So maybe it's like a quick, I just need to know quickly, how do I do that?
Okay.
Yeah, then just go and do that.
And that resource is
Called?
where?
The, well, from us, the coaching app,
Okay.
which is just very simply thecoachingapp.com.
Okay.
We launched last year with some of our corporate clients, so the larger organizations who've got 100 more people can just go, they can get it now, that's available.
Yeah.
What we're going to be launching in about a month's time is the personal edition.
Nice. Okay. So your regular guys can
you
have
the
access.
individual, your company's not doing anything to help you, you the individual for about $7 a month can go get it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we'll give you guys more details to come on that. Tony, Dad, thank you so much for joining us on the show and sharing with us a few tips on how we can get ready to go back to work. We are going to go for a short break, but when we come back, we break it down.
There you go. She only did it because Dad's in the house. She's showing off now.
We're going to be breaking it down with Dawn just to get you all centered and ready to go with some yoga movements right here on The Morning Show with Kelly and Barbara.
Step right up, draw the next card. You're one of the black animals, so get along with everybody else. Is this ship sinking? I've been thinking. Always sinking. I've been thinking. Wake up call, throw the next up. Be one of a kind, original. Don't be another sign of the times. Fight. It's wanna know the secret we get on. Wanna know the secret we get on. Try to find the feeling we belong. It's all for one and all for fun.
Welcome back to The Morning Show with Kelly and Barbara. It's been nice actually spending the whole show with you.
I know. So often we jump in and out, but today was like
It's a good session.
full day, and I've got my speech back now, so I can talk.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, now that she can actually talk, we're actually going to throw to something completely different. We had Dawn in to show us how to break down a bridge pose. Let's see whether you can do it.
Hi, and welcome to Break It Down, the time when we get to break down your favorite exercises, or maybe you don't know it yet, but these are really good exercises and movements, so that you know the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, and of course the best ways to make the movements easier or harder for some of you. My name is Dawn, and today I'll be taking you through the bridge pose. Very easy one. Again, anti-aging. Listen, anti-aging, okay, must do every day. If you do try it at home, don't forget to tag us at Get Active TV. Or if you've got any questions as well, feel free to shoot us a comment and we'd love to help. Again, all you need is a mat. Even if you don't have a yoga mat or a Pilates mat, you just need a towel for this one. Just somewhere to cushion your back when you're lying down on the ground. All right, so that's where we get started. The benefits of doing this, like I mentioned earlier, anti-aging. But it's also very good for those of you who have neck syndrome. Neck syndrome. Neck syndrome. The back of your neck does shorten and get compressed. So when we do a bridge, it helps us to elongate the back of your neck, right? So it helps to correct your spine, it helps to correct your neck alignment, and at the same time helps to relieve tension around the neck area, right? So when we lie down here, I'm gonna have to wiggle my armpits a bit closer towards my waist. So firstly, already removing that tendency to shrug the shoulders when I'm doing this movement. And let's look out for yourselves trying to do that as well. So you notice I'm trying to reach for my ankles as I do this. You can try to do that as well. If thinking about armpits to waist doesn't really work for you, fingers try to reach for your ankles. You've got it, right? Now I'm gonna have my feet about hip width distance apart. And I'm gonna lift my hips up towards the ceiling, right? How high you go, it really depends on what your body allows you to do at that point. But you notice that the hips are now raised up to the point where I've got a straight line somewhat from my hips to my from my shoulders to my hips to my knees. I don't just want to stop there, but this would be an option for some of you. So if this is the max, please stay here. If you're just starting out, is it the first time you're doing it, just stay here, it's fine. To progress, you're gonna have your shoulders lift up, walk it to the center. Lift up, walk it to the center. Now look at how the shape of my spine has changed. My bridge has gone higher. I have a few options. Also, the chin now tucks in more towards the chest, and the back of the neck is getting a slightly deeper stretch as well. I'm gonna interlock my fingers this time, and this is one option. So at the same time, I'm opening across my chest further as I try to interlock my fingers. Now, next option, I can always have my hands hold onto my ankles as well. And this further, again, helps me to elongate the sides of my neck. I got another option here. So for those of you who do have your hips raised up high enough, come into a supported bridge. So here my legs actually can get to rest. Now for those of you who do have a yoga block at home, feel free to use the block. Place it behind the bony structure at the back of your hips, not your waist, yeah? The bony structure behind your hips. And you can also let your legs rest while you're staying here in a supported bridge. Now, the reason why I like this, okay, I'm gonna lower down first. You're gonna stay there for about 10 breaths to a minute, okay? That's really good for those of you who can stay for longer. You'll get more benefits out of this. I'm just gonna explain to you why I in particular like the bridge. When you press down, chin towards the chest, like I pointed out earlier, the back of the neck lengthens out, but the front of the neck also has that pressure, right? And this is where our thyroid gland and our parathyroid gland is housed. What are these two things? They're responsible for a healthy metabolism. So due to non-movement or non-exercise or for whatever reasons, these guys aging as well. They don't function as well. So when you do a stimulating movement like that, it helps to massage and awaken it. It just helps to stimulate the glands there. So for those of you who are concerned with a sluggish thyroid or sluggish metabolisms, you may want to try doing this on a regular basis, right? Now, there's one more way you can make this movement harder. Coming back to the bridge, lifting up. I'm gonna have my arms resting down here. I'm gonna have my feet coming in more towards the center first before I lift one leg up into a one-legged bridge. So I'm gonna try to still have my hips on the same height so it doesn't dip down. Keeping both hips at the same height, this guy just works a lot harder. Don't forget to do the same thing on the other side, right? So again, not letting the hip dip down. Notice the alignment at the neck as well. So try not to jut your chin up towards the ceiling And then gonna lower down. Roll the spine down. And then you might want to follow up with hugging the knees in towards the chest before you rock side to side. And then place your hands behind your thighs and roll to come up. So that is it, how you make the movements easier and how you make the movements harder. Remember, it's anti-aging, so do it every day. Thank you again for joining me on Break It Down. It's time for a quick break now, but when you come back, it's back to Kelly and Barbara, so don't go anywhere.
Thanks
we're back.
so much, Dawn. Yes, I love quick breaks like that. Well, we've had a really good show. I've really enjoyed today. I think I've actually learnt quite a lot of things, just about how we can get ready for life after circuit breaker.
Prepare, and I think that's something that's very, very relevant in these times. You know, we've talked about working from home and how everyone's adapting working from home, and everyone's trying to up their life skills during this period of time, but really knowing how you can rein it all in and make it slightly more concentrated in your learning and have a proper plan. And I know a lot of people have adapted to journaling during this time. It helps us pen down our emotions and be a lot more aware of everything that we're feeling during these trying times. But knowing that there is, going to be an app for individuals that I can kind of be real practical about, you know, for a lot of us who are going back into the workplace and being like, okay, boom, 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 these are the things that I need to do to excel coming out of COVID-19.
Well, I don't think we're going to be coming out of COVID-19 for a very long time now, but coming out of circuit breaker, I think what a lot of people don't actually realize is that there is no real coming out of circuit breaker. We are going to be at home for quite some time more. We're still going to be working from home, but it's how when businesses resume operations a little bit more and when things start to open up, how we're able to cope with that change, because when things start to change, it's going to happen very, very fast. But this isn't going anywhere, so we shouldn't be rushing into saying, yes, let's open up our economy and let's open up our borders and let's open up everything. We've got to make sure that we're taking the right steps and that makes sure that we're doing it internally, the right steps to further our careers as well. Now, we've got a great lineup of guests coming up tomorrow as well, haven't we?
Trending Tuesdays. It's also Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right. We've got free tacos coming your way, courtesy of Poppy's Tacos. Sarah Lynn is joining us in studio to help stretch things out with a little bit of gyro.
That's
we
right.
had a chat. We're going to be chatting with
Jamie Teo, all things fitness, dancing, art, and
related. And
TikTok.
Speaking of art as well, Chun Isi, Edmund Chun's son, is going to be joining us and sharing a little bit about how you can do art therapy correctly.
Yeah, okay, what else? It was 4 weeks ago that I did this art therapy experiment and she still hasn't let it go.
It's so fun.
EC is going to be in tomorrow to show us how to do it the right way, apparently.
Yes. Sketching tutorials coming your way and some ideas of how you can get better at your art craft. All coming up on the morning show tomorrow at 10 a.m. Stick with us here on Get Active TV for plenty more throughout the course of today. Up next at 12 o'clock is In Your House with Raj Kumar. But from Barbara and I, that's it for today.
It's a wrap.
So whatever it is you're doing for the rest of your mindful Monday, make sure that you're staying safe, stay strong, and stay at home.